I don't know needs to hear this, but God is not difficult to understand. What makes him feel distant is the broken lenses through which we see him and his kingdom. We look at suffering, we look at unanswered prayers, we look at the pain of life and we assume it's cruel, allowing pain without reason. Some even believe it's selective, blessing some while ignoring others. But the real problem is not God. The problem is human perception. We see him through broken lenses, through our flaws, through our limited understanding. Some imagine him as nothing more than tradition, just a cultural symbol to honor, not a living God. Others see him as a distant power, real yet unreachable, too far away to matter in their daily lives. And many reduce him to a provider of requests, as if his only purpose is to give them what he wants. But before you can understand how he moves, you must first understand how he is. He is not a man-made idea, not a product of culture. He is the eternal king, steady and unchanging. His ways are built on order, not on shifting emotions, not human pressure. Every act flows from purpose, never from random desire. And he set up his kingdom to hold life together. Outside of it, everything would collapse into disorder. Think about it. If gravity failed for 1 second, the earth would fall apart. If the sun stopped rising, every season would collapse. If oxygen stopped moving for a minute, everything would stop moving. What keeps everything in place? Structure. This is God's unseen order holding life together. And since man challenges this rule, God answers with question of his own. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Job 38 verse 4. Here, God does not simply silence Job. He reminds humanity that before we saw light, he had already designed the blueprint of creation. He laid foundations, meaning he determined structure, balance, and order even before life began. This is God saying, you live in the world I built. You cannot question the builder while standing inside his building. Have you ever commanded the morning to appear and caused the dawn to rise in the east? Have you ever told the daylight to spread to the ends of the earth, to bring an end to night wickedness? Job 38 12-13. The sunrise does not appear. It responds to his command. It is an appointed instruction, and even the shaking of the earth is not disorder. It unfolds under his timing, serving his greater purpose. Every delay, every dawn, every removal of wickedness, none of it is accidental. All of it aligns with God's deliberate calendar. Look at the night skies. Who do you think made all this? Who marches the army of stars out each night, counts them off, calls them each by name, so magnificent, so powerful, and never overlooks any single one? Isaiah 40:26. Why the stars? Because they obey laws man cannot break. God is saying, if you cannot move the stars, you cannot demand me to bend eternal order for your short-term wish. This is the unveiling of his kingdom. God's kingdom runs by set laws, laws that uphold creation. If you answered random prayers outside that order, the entire fabric of life would collapse. Who would confront me and get by it? I am in charge of all this. I run this universe. Job 41 verse 11. This is ownership. He is not borrowing creation from anyone. He is not accountable to another force. Everything under heaven belongs to him. If a life begins, he knows. If a life ends, he knows. It is not cruelty. It is purpose in the hand of the owner. To whom will you compare me? Who is my equal? Asks the only one. Isaiah 40:25. This is God cutting off all comparison. You cannot measure him with human fairness or human government or human emotion. He is beyond equal, beyond rival. God is saying, I cannot be compared. I cannot be measured. I do not fit into your scale. I define it. All the people of the earth are nothing compared to him. He has the power to do as he pleases among the angels of heaven and with those who live on the earth. No one can stop him or challenge him, saying, what do you mean by doing these things? Daniel 4 verse 35. This is not arrogance. It is sovereignty. Kings rise and fall by his decree. Nations move at his timing. No one can veto his command. When he acts, he is final. This is why God does not owe explanation to every loss, because he operates by a will higher than human opinion. For our God is in the heaven and he does as he wishes. Psalm 115 verse 3. This is the simplicity of sovereignty. God does what he pleases, not because he is careless, because his pleasure is tied to his eternal purpose. If he granted every prayers by emotions, the kingdom would lose order. A child could pray for a car out of ignorant desire. A bitter man could pray for another's death. The lazy could pray for wealth without work. If God answered all, the world would collapse. So his refusal is not weakness. It is protection of order. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to harvest. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1-2. This unveils why death cannot be interpreted as cruelty. God fixed time into creation. Birth is not random. Death is not random. Every soul has a season. Sometimes the end of one season is the awakening of another. A death in a family may push another to take responsibility. A loss may awaken maturity. This is God using time to shape purpose. Who are you, a mere human being, to criticize God? Should the thing that was created say to the one who made it, why have you made me like this? When a potter makes jars out of clay, doesn't he have the right to use the same lump of clay to make one jar for decoration and another to throw garbage into it? Romans 9:20-21. This is the clearest of the unveiling of human limitation. The clay cannot challenge the potter. Why? Because the potter holds the design in his hand, while the clay only feels the shaping. God is saying, you don't see the design, you only feel the pressure, but I know what I'm forming. So when you ask why death happens, remember this: you have decided the length of our lives. You know how many months we will live, and we are not given a minute longer. Job 14 verse 5. You already numbered days. Beginnings Beginnings and endings are written into time. Moses died before entering the promised land, not because God was cruel, but because Joshua needed to rise. A generation had to step into leadership. John the Baptist was beheaded in prison, not because God abandoned him, but because his mission was completed. His death marked the transition into the fullness of Christ's ministry. Sometimes one man's departure is another man's awakening. A death in a family may push someone to finally seek God or awaken maturity in a son who must now carry responsibility. To us, it looks like loss, but to God, it is transition. When you ask why heartbreak happens, remember this. Hannah wept for a child for years. Her barrenness felt like shame, but God was not punishing her. He was reserving her womb for Samuel, a prophet that would shape kings. Joseph was betrayed and sold. His heart was broken by family, but that heartbreak positioned him for Pharaoh's palace. Without betrayal, there would be no Egypt. Without Egypt, no salvation for Israel during famine. When you ask why lack happens, remember this. A crowd of 1,000 had only 5 loaves and 2 fish, but that lack became a ground for miracle. From little, God brought abundance. Israel hungered in the wilderness, not because God hated them, but because manna had to teach them dependence. Lack broke their pride and exposed their need for him. When you ask why prayer seemed unanswered, remember this. David prayed and fasted for his dying son, but still the child died. God was not deaf. He was redirecting history, because through that loss came Solomon, a son destined for the throne, and through Solomon came a lineage leading to Christ. Some prayers are not denied, they are delayed for timing. Some are withheld to protect others. Their fulfillment will destroy us, so nothing is wasted. Death serves purpose, heartbreak serves shaping, lack serves dependence, unanswered prayer serves alignment. This is the wisdom of the sovereign king. He is not cruel, he is not absent, he is not careless. He is the sovereign king, and everything bends to his eternal design. What man calls chaos, God calls design. His design is eternal, his wisdom will not fail, and his throne will never shake. So fix your eyes on your purpose and let the king be glorified in his creation.